Hello everybody and welcome to a very windy West Sussex. As you can see, I have been busy with my E12 and I've got a few updates for you regarding the work that has been done and the work that I will be doing in the next whatever. I really haven't set a target or a time limit, which is probably a good thing. Now, before we talk about rust, look at this. I finally put the bottom strip of the windscreen. It was really a very hard job, but I managed to do it in just about an hour. It was a little bit difficult, but plenty of lube and so on. And also I did watch a couple of videos on YouTube on how to do it. I managed to put the thing back in. However, there is a bit of a snag, and I didn't detect this when I bought the new glass. So as I did mention on the previous videos, the glass that I bought was second hand, and it was a very rainy day, and there is a chipstone in here. And there's another one here, and there's another one there. To be perfectly honest, it was my fault. I should have checked better at the time when I bought the glass, but I have to say, for £100 I really cannot complain, because I simply could not have found anything else in the country. And yeah, there was another one which was available in Manchester, but that was way too far from me. There is a little bit of a scratch around here, but that can be polished out a little bit, so I'm not too worried. But worst comes to worst, I just have to get these 3 chipstones treated at some point. But back to the chrome trim, it has finally been replaced. A little bit of a struggle around here. I'm still struggling to push it all the way back in, but it is mostly in, and it's actually provided a very good seal, because there is definitely no water leaks into the car. Because before the bottom strip was in, oops, there's a bit of an issue in here. We'll get to that in a moment. Before there was water ingress at the bottom. Water would go from the outside and then would ooze out from the inside. But now it is absolutely bone dry, and I'm very happy with it. Now, regarding the rust, I had quite a bit of a challenge with this car. And going back to the passenger side, I started to remove all the carpets, which are there actually. They are in a real poor condition, but I gave them a very good scrub. Not these ones, of course, because these ones I've left them out, but these ones here at the bottom, I gave them a very good wash, and they did come out all right, but I simply just have no funds to buy new carpets and so on. So these ones will have to go through another wash, and I'll try to seam a little bit of a vinyl strip at the end to finish off the carpet, and then just live with it. These will go through a second wash. You see, they all have been destroyed. There was things in the car and so on, and unfortunately they need replaced at some point, but not now. There's no money for it. Look at the amount of contact glue there is in it, and the insulation, which was a nightmare, a bit of a nightmare to remove, but here it is. I had to, there's all these rubbers with these old-fashioned foam. I'm going to replace that foam with a closed cell, which will not absorb water, and then put new sound deadening pads as well, Dynabat type, because they are much better than the old stuff, which was a little bit difficult to remove initially, but because they were a bit brittle and some bits were a bit hard, actually the best way to do was actually to chisel them out. I didn't use a chisel, I used a scraper, which was a bit more blunt, and therefore did not cause massive gouge in the panel itself. But would that make any difference? Because here it is. And this is a common problem on the BMWs from the 1970s, late 60s, 70s, right throughout the 80s. And because the people have a tendency to jack up the cars on those corners, there are some squares, some pads on each corner at the front, and people confuse them with the jacking points. They're not jacking points, they are only pads for when the car is in production as a body in white or a shell, and they basically used only to hold the car onto the assembly line and the transport of the assembly line. And then, of course, when the car is, they start to build, put all the fittings like engine, transmission, interior glass and so on, then the car is already secured in a different point. Those are not built to sustain the full weight of the car, and because people jack the car in the wrong place, it starts to cause stress on the metal areas, on the seams and so on, and they open up, water infiltrates and starts to rot. Basically, that's what it is, because the true jacking point on a BMW of this era is always here, these areas, not on the corner as many people do. So this is a result of the rot, which was hiding quite a lot. I did remove the front wings, which was not too difficult. There is some surface rust, which is quite easy to treat it. And this, I thought it was under seal, but it isn't. It's some sort of a wax, because it does come off quite easily. And so after some grinding and use of the very powerful wire brush, I managed to get down to the bottom of it, see the areas that need welding. So all this is going to be cut out. I'm going to try chip metal and so on, and then replace with new metal. And the same story is also on this side. You can see there is much less rust in here. Of course, there is quite a fair amount on the sill, and this one has far less rust compared to the other side, but nevertheless it needs to be replaced. In here the floor is much better condition, but as you can see, it's all in these bits. It actually, look at this side, looks like it's just bumped a little bit, so the car must have dropped or something like that on an axle stand or something like, and that's why you see a little bit raised, which was not on the other side. But am I going to replace these squares? No, I'm not, because they're actually not needed. So I'm going to replace with new metal just this sheet in here. Of course, grind everything back, remove the rust, but I'm not going to replicate the factory finish of this, because this has no use for day-to-day, and I don't think it really adds much to structural integrity. I don't know, some people say don't bother with it because it's not really necessary and really doesn't add much structural integrity, because if it was that structurally strong, they wouldn't recommend these to basically to support the car on all the weight of the car on these. So they are just going. And I have been protruding with a screwdriver all around here. Of course, I know that there's going to be a little bit more rot around here, but I don't have to replace the whole seal. This is actually quite solid. And one thing I have to do as well is make sure that these channels, because these are channels where water drains out, make sure that they are completely free and of any obstruction. And this is in order to prevent water accumulation all around and prevent the seals from rotting. So that's going to be it. And of course, just similarly to the other side, there's going to be a surface rust, which is going to be treated, and it's actually not too bad. There's a lot of dirt and so on, but I have to say there I've seen cars that are far, far worse. Now going back to the driver's side. So new metal is going to be put in. I'm going to cut the section all the way down there. I've already cut a fair amount, which I'm going to show you, and then weld new metal in here to the seal. I've checked all around here. I've been poking with the screwdriver fiercely, and it's very, very solid. Most of it is just dirt, old glue, and some surface rust, but it's pretty solid. And I'm going to patch these bits. I'm just going to cut out and put a new piece of metal, because this is actually quite solid. It's just these bits that actually I needed to patch, maybe just a square section or not, because this is actually in very good solid. Then that's not rust, that's where the what's it called, the kick down button bolts onto. There's a bracket in there, so that's not rust. Just drill the spot weld in there. I'm going to try, but I think I'm just going to cut out, and that's it. Everything else is just really some surface rust, a little bit pitted, but I'm going to leave as it is. But there's no perforation of metal in all that area, and everything else is pretty much like that. So I'm glad there isn't much any more rot in the car. And I'm going to show you the state of the wings, and they're going to be tricky to repair. Oh, but before then, this is the driver's side. This is the bit that I've cut at the bottom here. You see, these are the squares that I used during the assembly line, and that's how they are. They just welded on the top that piece of metal here. That's how they are, and I don't see this. A lot of people said that they are absolutely surplus to requirements and therefore not needed. These are basically, they're actually very small. These are wheel arch liners. They're made of metal with a rubber seal. It's in pretty poor condition, but a bit difficult to find replacement. New old stock does not exist. I think it only exists for one side. I saw a guy online selling these ones in very good condition. I might buy a set or not. And the seals, I mean the wheel, the wings, they were in a terrible shape. Look at that. And you might wonder how that color in there is actually brighter than the original color. I do remember that there was a little bit of hole in here back in 2005 when I first had the car, and I thought, oh, let me just try to find a paint that matches. I thought it did, but it didn't. That was me when I painted just a bit of aerosol can back in 2002. But what they've done, instead of just repairing with new metal, they went to all the trouble of using fiberglass. It's absolutely caked in it. Look how thick that is. Massive sheets of thick fiberglass. And the other wing was exactly the same thing. Massive amount of fiberglass as well. So that's it. There are repair panels but this one is even worse shape. There are repair panels to repair these, I think. I think I might just do those, because this is quite terrible. I need to find a solution. And apart from that, there's this I don't know what this is. It's like a wax. It doesn't seem to be under seal because it is a bit soft in some places, and but I have to strip it all down and remove the rust. That's all surface rust as well, just using a rust converter. and this one is for this wheel arch liner. This one is for the passenger side. That was a bit that I did cut at the bottom, but it's in terrible shape. I think there's a guy near where I live that has a set of these in very good shape and is selling them, so I might just buy from him and save all the aggro of fabricating new and all that, because it's just too much hassle. And this is a bit I have to fabricate. I'm going to dip this into some acid to remove all the rust, and then just weld on top on another plate, because this is what supports the accelerator pedal. At the bottom, the accelerator pedal is in there, hooks out in there, and then it clips here at the bottom. I took this out to see the condition of the metal, so I'm just still going to cut this out, put a new metal in, weld a new bracket, because I can't really see. I've tried to grind and see all the spot welds, but I can't see any of them. So I'm just going to dip this into some acid, remove all the rust, and then just weld another on top of another plate, and of course protect from rust. So there you go. This is my update regarding the E12 for the time being. I will post longer videos about the repairs that I am doing on my second channel, Gentilsgarage Extension. And also I would like to let you know that unless you have missed my posts, that I've started to practice some weld. I'm using a flux core weld, which is ideal for windy places like this one, and it seems to be going okay, but I'm still going to do a little bit more practice and therefore apply what I've learned into welding this car. It's only floor plans and seals, so it's more crude work compared to panels, outside panels and so on, so it should be a little bit easier as a starter, but I still have quite a lot of practice to go through first before I feel confident enough in order to start welding myself and finally get this car on the road. That's it for now. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye bye.